Let's start with the scandalous truth. A placebo is usually an inactive treatment, a sugar pill, saline injection, sham procedure, or some other medically innocent decoy. Yet in many studies, people who receive it report real improvement in symptoms. The relief is not imaginary just because the pill is inert. The symptom change can be real, especially for things like pain, nausea, fatigue, and other symptoms heavily influenced by brain processing. That is the first twist in our story. The fake pill is fake. The relief can be real, which means the human brain is either astonishingly powerful or the most convincing con artist ever evolved. What a placebo really is. A lot of people hear the word placebo and think, so it's fake healing? Not exactly. The placebo effect is better understood as a beneficial response triggered by expectation, context, and the meaning attached to treatment, not by the chemistry of the treatment itself. In plain English, if your brain expects help, and the whole ritual of care reinforces that expectation, your body can sometimes respond in measurable ways. Even the doctor's tone, confidence, and bedside manner can influence the outcome. So the placebo is not magic dust. It's more like a stage prop that allows the brain to perform. The white coat matters. The clinic room matters. The way the doctor says, "This should help," matters. Human beings are not just biochemical machines. We are biochemical machines with narrative software. The brain's secret pharmacy. Now we descend into the rabbit hole. Scientists have found that placebo responses, especially placebo pain relief, are linked to real neurobiology. Studies indicate the brain can activate systems involving endogenous opioids, your own internal pain-relieving chemicals, including endorphin-related pathways. In other words, the brain can, under the right circumstances, tap into its own medicine cabinet. Let that sink in. You take a pill with nothing in it, but because your brain expects relief, it may release substances that do affect how pain is processed. That is not just in your head in the dismissive sense. It is in your head in the most literal, neurological, biologically fascinating sense possible. Your skull apparently contains a pharmacy with terrible packaging and no customer service line. The great medical misunderstanding. But now, important correction, because this is where people go off the rails. The placebo effect does not mean fake treatments can cure everything. A placebo won't shrink a tumor because you believed really hard. It won't lower your cholesterol just because the pill bottle looked expensive. Placebos are strongest for symptoms shaped by brain interpretation, pain, stress-related insomnia, nausea, fatigue, and similar experiences. They may help you feel better, but they do not replace treatments that target underlying disease mechanisms. So if anyone tells you, throw away all real medicine, belief is enough, that is not enlightenment. That is a dangerous overcorrection with a motivational speaker's soundtrack. The placebo effect is real, it is powerful, and it is also limited. That balance matters. When even surgery can get outshined. Now for one of the wildest chapters in this story, sham procedures. In some clinical trials, researchers compared real procedures to carefully designed sham versions, where patients went through the ritual of treatment without the key therapeutic step. And in certain cases, the sham group improved just as much as the real procedure group. One famous example, randomized trials of vertebroplasty for painful osteoporotic vertebral fractures found no beneficial effect compared to a sham procedure. That is a brutal lesson, because it means sometimes the drama of treatment, the scans, the consent forms, the serious faces, the operating room lights, the "we're taking care of this," can produce a substantial part of the perceived benefit. Medicine had to look in the mirror and admit some of what patients respond to is the ceremony. And frankly, that is both scientifically fascinating and deeply awkward. So is it all deception? Here comes another twist. For a long time, people assumed placebos only work if the patient is tricked. But research on open-label placebos, where patients are explicitly told they're receiving a placebo, suggests that deception is not always necessary. Some studies and reviews have found that even when people know the pill is inactive, symptom improvement can still happen in certain conditions. Think about that. Your doctor could basically say, here is a placebo. It contains no active drug, but the ritual of taking it may still help trigger your brain's symptom relief systems. And sometimes the body replies, understood, commencing weirdness. That may be the most elegant proof that human healing is not only chemical, it is contextual. The body listens not just to molecules, but to meaning. Enter the evil twin, the nocebo effect. But every hero in science seems to have a dark mirror. The placebo effect has an evil twin called the nocebo effect. If positive expectation can help you feel better, negative expectation can make you feel worse. People warned about side effects may experience those effects even when they receive an inactive treatment. That means fear can become physiology, dread can become discomfort, expectation can become a symptom amplifier. So yes, your brain can be your pharmacist, but under bad management, it can also be your worst Yelp reviewer. This is why language in medicine matters, how clinicians explain treatment matters, why trust matters, because the mind is not a passive passenger. It keeps grabbing the steering wheel. What this reveals about being human. Now, step back. The placebo effect reveals something profound. Humans do not experience health as raw biology alone. We experience it through interpretation, expectation, memory, trust, ritual, and relationship. The treatment is never just the treatment. It is also the story wrapped around the treatment. The room, the tone, the reputation, the hope, the authority, the ritual of I am being helped. That doesn't make healing fake. It makes healing more complicated than a chemistry set. The brain is not merely a switchboard receiving pain signals. It is an active editor, highlighting, muting, forecasting, and sometimes rewriting the experience itself. And that may be the most astonishing part of all. Conclusion. So why does fake medicine actually work? Because sometimes the meaning of treatment changes the experience of illness. Because expectation can alter symptom perception. Because care itself has power. Because the brain has built-in mechanisms that can be recruited by belief, ritual, and context. Not to perform miracles, not to replace antibiotics, insulin, surgery, or evidence-based treatment, but to remind us that healing is not only about chemicals entering the body. Sometimes it is also about signals, trust, and the astonishing ability of the mind to influence what the body feels. The placebo effect is science's way of saying you are more than a machine, but you are still definitely a machine with wiring weird enough to confuse the engineers.